Welcome back to Fleshing It Out Book Day. We are here with the Sage Sisters founder and friend, Janet Tamasiath. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Samantha. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. What is this week's book recommendation?
This week's book recommendation is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Yay. It's really a must read. It's probably, I think, maybe number 4 for me so far, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a really good one.
Whoa. Because the choice was top 3, and that for me, like, so good.
Yeah, this one.
All right. So tell us, what is
Of course, that's a personal, sorry. Whoops. That's a personal recommendation.
Yeah, these are all personal recommendations. I'm not overthinking Book Day, Janet, because you, as a personal development guru, you have a passion for reading books. You have a passion for self-development. And what I love about Book Day with you is that we are presenting people books and book options. I'm releasing the pressure of us of like, oh, only read this, like, because I honestly feel that God speaks to us in different ways. All of our journeys are different. And with this week's book recommendation, some of the other ones we've looked at are, people with PhDs and this and that. And, this woman started out as a mom blogger and, now an author and speaker. And you and I, before we started recording, we were talking about that she's just sharing her story and her journey. And so if it touches someone, we can release the pressure. Just enjoy her story, because everyone's story has value and beauty. So tell us about the book, Janet. Your fourth favorite book, which is huge.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I had not read her previous 2 books before I read this, and I knew very little about her story. So when I was reading this book, I had no idea, what the story was really going to be about. But I just fell in love with her instantly, and her ability to be real and recognize where she came from and how, her childhood really conditioned her to be the good girl, really, and how she is now fully embodying her true self and how she's come to understand what that is, and really live it and honor it and share how she's done it through telling her story. So it's just really powerful.
And what drew you to the book? And so kind of what might draw other people to the book?
Gosh, I don't know really what drew me to the book. I think it was one of those cases where like 4 or 5 people mentioned it to me in a very short time frame. And when that happens, I really take notice and listen. And so really that's why I read the book. And, it rose to number 4. So it definitely resonated with me in a lot of different areas. And she touches on so much about life and, raising children and, marriage and divorce and relationships with your extended family and church life and sexuality and so many aspects of our lives, and really just talks about them very openly and candidly. And I just love how she approaches things. So it gives you new perspectives and helps you with things that you're not even expecting to be helped with.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me about how she kind of talked about kind of living in this cage, and then you kind of get conditioned to that. And that's kind of when we're raised a certain way. And so it seems like, if someone is kind of going through that process where they might realize they're, finding their own way, and it might be different than the way those have come before them. And so reading a memoir and, kind of practical applications to kind of help find their own way.
Exactly. Well, and she's a big proponent of, finding out what matters to you what really matters is how you feel about your own life and really honoring yourself. And, you know, if we can really do that, then, you know, that affects everything. It affects the people around us. It affects how effective we are. It affects how we feel about ourselves. And really it also helps how we create healthy boundaries, and, you know, which are important as well. So anyway, yeah, it's there are just so many nuggets, and she's funny, and it's a page turner. Like, you don't want to put it down.
That's great. You know what? Something you just said reminded me of another book suggestion you gave, which was the Book of Beautiful Questions, and how you said the author talked about how our beliefs and opinions are so tied into our identity. And I think that, you know, if you are growing and changing, your thoughts and beliefs are changing, there's like a crisis of conscience, if that might be the right word, of, you know, if my views on this change, or if I don't agree with something I was taught, what does that say about who I am? And I feel like she's been very honest about her journey. So
right. Well, and she talks about the writing in the sand and how it's important to always write in the sand, because what we believe today, we may not have that same belief tomorrow. And really it's a beautiful process and a journey of growth, and it's okay, you know?
So Janet, since it is a top 4, there might be too many to name, but was there an aha moment or something that challenged or transformed you from this book?
I think for this one, you know, I create book notes for every book discussion that we have. And in creating the book notes, I had highlighted so many passages in the books that I ended up creating, like, organizing them by theme. There are so many themes that just really talk about so many different aspects and areas of life, that I just felt like it was just like walking through a meadow of wildflowers, right? And discovering, you know, the different things along. And she doesn't tell the story in a timeline. She does it by, you know, by subject. And so, you know, the timeline sort of goes, you know, forward and backward and all around. So anyway, it's a delightful book. And it just feels like a hug, you know, when you're reading it. So
that's wonderful. Well, thank you, Janet. And I know you have your monthly book club discussions as well as your self-development community with the Sage Sisters. So if someone wants to get in touch and join your community, how can they do that?
The easiest way is just to find me on my website at thesagesisters.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janet.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Yay.